Job Hunting
101.
Welcome viewers, and thank you for tuning in to our Youth Employment Job Series 101. My name is Montique Shepard, and I am representing the We Are Youth program. With me today, I have two human resource professionals from established organizations, and they'll introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Joel Howell with PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm a senior HR manager at the establishment. Our business is really pretty much professional services, and what we do is a mixture of audit, consulting, tax, and a variety of other professional services things that we do.
I'm Freddie Barton. I'm Director of Economic Development for the Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa. We provide job placement, job training assistance, as well as holistic services for residents of the East Tampa and surrounding communities, including home buyer education, foreclosure mitigation, and youth advocacy services.
Well, I first want to say thank you, gentlemen, for being here and joining us today.
Happy to be here.
All right, thank you. The first topic I want to talk about is youth barriers. As we know, dealing with youth ages 16 to 21, they have multiple barriers to overcome, some being young parents, some being high school dropouts, some not having transportation, some being homeless. What are some of the ways that you would recommend the best way to overcome some of the barriers to find employment for these particular youth?
One of the things that we do with our organization is we actually reach out to the youth, usually around the age range of 16 to 21, and let them know that your past doesn't define your present or your future. We're big on mentoring, and we let them know that the people that are in the positions that we're in right now, some of us may have had barriers, some of us may have had obstacles, and we've been able to overcome those as well. Understanding and knowing that sometimes the youth have barriers that are out of their control. It's their family dynamic, it's their home dynamic. So that mentoring piece is very crucial and critical. We also place, of course, the obvious focus on education, whether it's moving into college or moving into vocational certification, understanding and letting the candidates know, the youth candidates know that you have to do more than just the norm. You have to do more than just show up to class and finish high school. The days of making it right now with just a high school diploma, those are long gone. So making sure that the candidates know that you have to push forward, you have to move forward, and there's no one that's going to do it for you anymore. That's just really critical, and it's building that accountability within them. We assist them, of course, with job placement, job training assistance to do the work readiness, the job readiness skills, but it's really critical for us to do the mentoring piece so that they understand that it's on you to make sure that you succeed.
All right. I do everything he says. Show's over. We can go home. Okay. But no, really, he did touch on a couple of key things, and one thing that I think makes the most sense to me, and what I would tell, what I've in my past experience in working with youth, is no more excuses. You can't. I mean, things have happened, situations have happened, but you're the only one that's going to keep you there. So what you need to do is move forward, get beyond what society is going to label you as, get beyond what happened to you 5, 10 years ago. Push forward. The primary thing that people cannot take away from you is the knowledge you gain. There are multiple programs. He just mentioned a number of programs that his organization does. Research. Go out there, do those programs. Do things that make sense. So if you live in Brandon and all of your friends are over at university and you don't have transportation, does it make sense for you to get a job over at university? No, it makes more sense to get a job in Brandon. So do things sensibly, do things that make sense, and then you'll be successful in overcoming those barriers.
I 100% agree with you. With working in the youth department, a lot of the youth don't know what to expect on an interview. Tell me some of the things that you look for when you're looking to hire someone at your establishments. Anyway.
Well, pertaining to youth, I think it starts at youth and it follows you everywhere else. Simple thing. Dress right, dress appropriate for the interview. I may be old school, but a suit is always preferable. If you don't have a suit, at least wear a tie. Even if it's a uniform position or if it's a non-uniform position, I believe the way you appear when you go on an interview, that's the thing that either gets you hired or fired. And you don't want your clothes to fire you before you even get the job.
Correct.
So those are some of the things that I think, are important. Making sure you're honest. There are a lot of barriers, like you mentioned earlier, that we may not be honest about because we're like, oh, I want the job, I want the job. But then if you aren't upfront with your employer or upfront with your HR person or the person that's interviewing you when you come in and tell them what your situations are, then it's much more difficult in the end process for you versus at the beginning. So be upfront, be honest, and just make sure you represent yourself well.
I have a question for you, Mr. Freddie. Usually we have a couple of youth, they come into the program and they're unfamiliar about or unaware about resumes. When you're looking at a resume, what is it that you're really looking at before you determine if you want to hire this candidate?
Well, and we teach this to various candidates, but I look for the person that's trying to stand out within 30 seconds. Because the market is the way it is right now, the market is just saturated and inundated with so many people that are out there looking for work that your resume has to stand out. When I'm looking for someone, and particularly with youth, we're looking at entry-level positions, I know that I'm not going to see all the accolades and all the credentials in the world, but I'm looking for someone that has development potential. I'm looking for someone that does understand the difference between a chronological or a functional resume, that has some sort of organization to them. There are plenty of templates that are out there. I hear all the time, I don't know how to do a resume. Do you know how to follow instructions is the next question. Well, sure, I know how to follow instructions. Cool. Here's a template. And they're literally going to ask you to put your name, where you went to school, some of your skills, any work experience that you have, and what you're looking for, and let the computer work for you. I'm looking to see that someone at least put forth that effort. I'd rather see someone who has just one job in their entire life, but their resume is organized, versus someone who's had 20 jobs in their lifetime and it's all over the place. So I'm looking for someone who is actually taking the time to organize and put that resume together.
Sometimes we encounter with youth, they get discouraged. Could you talk to us a little bit about how they can overcome the turndowns in employment and what to do to keep being motivated and keep doing what they need to do to find employment?
With me, it's actually it's a real gut check with the youth. Typically, the jobs that were once reserved for youth, so we're talking about the grocery stores, we're talking about the retail stores, that were once reserved for younger generations, the 15, the 16-year-olds, the grocery baggers, the cart picker-uppers. Now, because the market is the way it is, we see older generations now taking those positions. So it's even more difficult for youth to get these jobs. And the youth are looking at us and saying, hey, there are no jobs available. I'm tired of doing this. I'd rather go out in the street or hang with my buddies or do whatever and do God knows what than to just go out there and put forth the effort into getting a job. And these are the same youth that in their eyes are still saying, I need some help. I need somebody to help me. So we let them know that, look, you're not going to land the perfect dream job your first time out. Take advantage of the resources that are available, whether they're at a local nonprofit, at the workforce center, at a community college, at your school. Talk to your counselor. Take advantage of any and every program. And there are plenty of free programs that are out there. Right. With the youth, we always say, if it's free, it's for me. Take advantage. You never know what you're going to learn from something out of one of the free workshops that are available. Know and understand that only you can make it. Only you can take yourself to another level. And it's literally getting them to that point where they understand, yes, I can do it. Something as simple as soon as they finish their resume, we show them, this is what you came with, this is what you have now. And then we keep a running job bank of all the successful job placements that we've had. Well, you said you only have worked one job, you only worked for it for 6 months, and you don't understand if you're getting a job. Here's a similar resume. We, of course, cover out the name. Here's a similar resume, someone who had the exact same experience. They're working right now. They did it, you can do it too. Right. So it's making it an evil level playing ground for these youth. You really, it's a gut check. It's letting them know nothing is given to you anymore. You've got to want it, you've got to want it and want it in order to be successful.
And I like what he says about the gut check, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. So one Absolutely. No puts you closer to that yes. And even if you may not land the job in the first 5 interviews, you at least have picked up some pretty good interviewing skills, so you know what to do next time you go for an interview. And the gut check is key, because I remember recently in one of my searches for employment, when I was searching for employment, I aced the interview. It was a great interview, and when the lady individual called me back, she was like, you interviewed very well, your resume stands out, but this role that we're hiring for, you would be able to do it, but I don't feel that that's your passion that you want to do. Right. And that hit me. I was like, wow, she could pick that up. She says, I feel your energy, you have it, but something's telling me that this is not your ideal job or the job that you want to do. So I think it's also a matter of, even at a 16 to 21-year-old, there's some things that may just not suit you. Now, you have to be wise in knowing, like, this is what's available versus this. But really try to be wise and do things, like I said earlier, that make sense. So if you know that you're not very good at paying attention to detail, there may be some jobs that just are not out there for you right then and there. You may need to develop those skills. So take time out. Don't get discouraged because, like I said, you pick up skills along the way. It even just builds your network. You begin, as you interview with different people, you may meet someone that will call you back 5 years later, or you may see in the mall or see somewhere in one of your passings that, oh, I remember you interviewed very well. Look, something else came open and I lost your resume or something could have happened, but they remembered who you were.
Right.
So you want to make sure that every time you go somewhere, even if it feels like it's going to be discouraging to you, sit back, just relish the moment, understand what could have happened, what couldn't have happened, put it behind you, and let's move forward.
And for local Tampa Bay viewers, you can contact your Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance to get a listing of programs and work readiness trainings that you can participate in if you need extra training or extra guidance in finding employment. Okay, so fellas, we talked about how important it is to dress. We talked about how important it is for your resume to look nice. Let's talk about keeping and maintaining the job that you do have. As a subject, attendance or punctuality, how important is that on the job?
80%, let me give you a real startling statistic. 80% of the what we call early terminations, people that are let go within the first 30 to 60 days of employment, are primarily due to people not showing up for work. Now, in today's market, that's kind of crazy to think about, that everyone's looking for a job, and you mean to tell me there are 80% of the people that are let go simply because they either show up for work late too many times or they don't even show up for work. We tell everyone that's about to start work, the most important thing that you can do is not learn, is not focus, is not pay attention. It literally is to show up on time. Because out the gate, you have to understand, there's so many people looking for work that they have friends at these companies that are looking for open positions. If I'm new and I'm starting on my first day, there are wolves that are looking for me to mess up. If I show up 5 minutes late, someone in that organization is going to say he showed up late. And the more people say that, the more my chances increase of being let go. And so literally just being able to show up on time. If you are about to start work on Monday, on Sunday, you need to find exactly where you're going to try to park on Monday morning.
Right.
Just being able to understand the culture dynamic. There's so many people that want that job. You have gold in your hand, and that's the key to your car or your bus pass or whatever's going to get you to that job. That's gold right there. So use that gold to get you there on the first day and continue that trend.
Yeah, my mom would always say, when you're on time, you're late.
Right.
Not that I always follow that rule, but I'm working on it. But when you're on time, you're late, and it goes back to, once again, doing things that make sense. So if you're a single parent, you're going to need that time because you never know what's going to happen with your kid. They may be sick. School, daycare may call you. They had some emergency. So make wise decisions when it comes to, okay, am I going to miss this day? I don't feel like getting up on Mondays and going to work. I'm sure.
I know.
Exactly. But there are times that I know I have 2 small kids at home. I'm going to have to get up, and they may be sick one day, and my wife may have to go to work, and I may have to stay home. So just because they give you 5 sick days doesn't mean it's extra free time.
Right, exactly.
They monitor these things. And like you said, people are out there looking for your job. They're actually looking to say, okay, either I have a friend that can get this, or it's the promotion that I wanted, and how dare they hire someone out from the outside to come in, or they may just not like you just because.
Just not to like you.
Right.
So you have to be wise in that decision. Attendance is very important because a lot of things happen before you get to work.
Right.
They happen after you get to work. They happen during work. And if you're just coming in there flying by, I must admit, I used to do it too. Drive to the car, and they caught me one time because I'm like flying into work, and instead of parking, I pushed the car at the end, run out, punch in, and then go park the car. And it's like, you can't do that.
Right.
And I'm like, but I'm here on time. No, being here on time means in your seat, making sure that you're, and I don't take it for granted anymore because I've been there. You move forward. And it just gives you enough time to come into work, understand what's going on, making sure you're not flustered and thinking about all the other stuff that has happened on the way with you trying to get to work. You can actually perform a lot better. So I think attendance is definitely important.
Yeah, and to add to that, communication is crucial too.
Yep.
If you know that you're going to be late, if you know you're going to be out, notify someone ahead of time. Walking in the
Exactly.
door and saying, "Oh, I was late. It was too much traffic, or I had to take my child to the daycare, or I had to do something, or I pay a bill." Walking in the door and explaining that is too late at that point.
Yep.
Because at that point, everyone there is watching you walk in late. Notifying someone ahead of time will save you a lot of drama in the end.
Okay. So to recap on our conversation, we talked about the attendance. It's very important to be at work every day on time. Punctuality, there are people watching you. If you're late, you're risking someone taking your position. It's always better to be early than to be on time. As Mr. Joel said, if you're on time, I guess you're considered late. If there, by chance, you need to take time off or you need to call in sick, it's always better to communicate that to your direct report or your supervisor ahead of time than at the last minute. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with you in one moment.
Job seekers, you can upload your resume, view job postings, and research labor market information at employflorida.com.